Greetings and salutations. Welcome, everybody, to Midday Affirmative. Let me know if you can hear me. See some of y'all in the Chizat. Peace, Abba. Cool. Thank you, Achi Zach. Peace to y'all. Peace, peace, peace. All right, cool. So you see the title of the room today is Google the Heart. And first of all, I'm not that well versed with titles, man. And there was a bunch of different things that I wanted to title this, but nonetheless, that's what we got. And we were charged in to read the book of Ruth, see what we gleaned from that. And, it's one of the things that started to pop out when I was checking it out was ultimately looking at the heart, man, and seeing what's in it and being able to test the heart. And one of the things that it started to make me even look at or look back at, because I have a background in sports. So one of the things that you used to test in somebody when they used to play football, high school, a little bit in college, and then after that it was really not that prevalent. But anytime that somebody used to come out to play football, before you would actually get to 2 days before you would actually get to putting pads on, you had what is called like 7-on-7. And in 7-on-7, there is just the quarterback, tight end, running back, receivers, and you got corners on defense, some safeties, linebackers, everybody just communicating, saying where they're at, where they're supposed to be, etc., right? And there's no pads on in 7-on-7. It's just the quarterback, football, and everybody moving around, and a lot of people talking trash to one another. You got wide receivers that go across the middle. They're totally fine with doing that because they can't get hit. You got quarterbacks who can stand in the pocket and throw it because nobody is rushing them, right? Nobody's coming after them. So everybody can look like $1,000,000 in 7-on-7. And then as you start to progress, then you would go to general practices where now you will get 11 people out there. But before you can actually start to have some physical practices, you would just only practice in helmets. Now, when you only have helmets on, it's still you can't hit each other. So there's still a lot of boasting, there's a lot of bragging, there's a lot of people saying that they're the greatest receiver, they're the greatest this, the DB, and going down the line, right? But with one making all of the professing of what they have and how good they are and all of that, one thing is for sure that it's going to get tested. And when you test something, it is easy to test it when you put the pads on, right? And you can actually see what's in this person. All that talking you just was doing, all that, well, some people would say bumping at the gums, that jaw japping, you're going to see about me, right? We're going to see when them Rydales start to snap up. And all of a sudden, you start to see those who were doing all of that talking fall into the wayside. There's something called an Oklahoma drill where people get in and they start to now go one-on-one. And this is with full pads, heads up. Let's see what you got. And when you see what somebody got, now you start counting to see, okay, I don't want to go against this person. They're a little too big. I don't want to go against this person because I don't know what is about to happen and I may get myself hurt. Now, here's the thing though. You just was doing all that talking. You just was doing all of that jaw japping, saying how great you were, and all of these things that people should look out for. But now all of a sudden you can get hit. Now all of a sudden you in the fire. Now you're not the same person anymore. And one of the things that one can start to see when you put the pads on is really what's inside of a person. It's almost, in a sense, a test. And life is always going to be a teacher, and you're always going to get tested to see what it is that you profess. Well, now I'm going to take it to Proverbs. I'm sorry, I'm going to take it to Psalms 131. Psalms 131. Now, I'll give y'all a quick second to get there, and then I'll read it. And then once I read it, then we'll go on. And feel free, if anybody would like to jump in and say what they got from some of these passages, because I have a few of them. And yeah, and we can just vibe like that. Or if not, we'll just keep rocking and rolling. So, Psalms 131, Song of Degrees of David. Lord, my heart is not haughty, nor my eyes lofty. Neither do I exercise myself in great matters or in things too high for me. Okay, so we have a quick somebody who is professing, my heart is not haughty. Now, again, going back to sports, that's going to get tested. And it's easy to make certain provisions or certain to say things when everything is going great. It's easy to say things when one doesn't have pads on, or one doesn't have to face a fire or walk across anything that is going to now cause them to sacrifice or cause them to lose some things or cause them to do anything. It's easy to say that. But when one now has to go through a test, it's like, okay, let me see what you know. It's no different than being in school, and one may go through a quarter of maybe learning science or math, and you say, "Yeah, I got that. I got that. Um, I know that." Well, the only way for one to know that is to be tested on it. And if one doesn't pass the test, then the test, you get to retake the test. And if you don't pass the test again, you get to keep retaking it until you get it. Now, why am I saying this? Because life is going to now start to test. Um, you say you follow the Most High, or I'm down with Anu. Even when people start to come in and they sign their commitment letters and saying that this is what I want to do with Anu, and within Anu, I want to, even bring this out of myself and making these commitments and certain things. Well, guess what? You're gonna get tested. That's gonna be put to the test. And when you'll see really what is put to the test, right? If Now, before I go on, does anybody want to say anything with that? Or I'll just keep going on to the next one. I want to make sure. If you do, just raise your hand. I'll get you in here. If not, let's sit back and just go for the ride. Huh? All right. So now I'm going to go to Proverbs, as Chief would say, Proverbs 17:3. So give me a second to go to Proverbs 17 and 3. All right, now in Proverbs 17 and 3, it says, the finding pot is for silver, the furnace for gold, but the Lord trieth the hearts. I like that. All right, hold on, boom. Got you in here, Master Menelec. Did you want to add anything before I keep riding?
I mean, I'll jump in after you finish your point right now.
All right, cool. So even if going back to when people sign commitment letters into our new, or people, and say how much they would put their lives on the line. I've heard this numerous times. Is I would put my life on the line for I knew. I would do this for I knew. Okay, let's put that thing to the test. let's let's see how much you're ready to give. Let's see how much you're ready to feel burned. Let's see how much you're ready to, give to the community as opposed to just professing. You know, um, we'll see what's actually in your heart. And one of the things that we were even charged with from reading, which I got from reading Ruth, it was even in the sense when things weren't going well, and all of a sudden people started dying off, and it's like, oh, what do we do now? Somebody comes to them. You got two women sitting here. All right, you know what? Y'all just leave. You can go. Saying, I can't give birth to any more children. I'm definitely not having any more sons. The best thing that you should do is check out. But test that thing to see what's in your heart. Is what's in your heart is middle finger? What's in your heart is I'm out of here? Or are you really about what you say you're about when you wrote that in your commitment letter? Are you really about what you say you're about if you say that I follow the Most High? Are you really about that when now things are not going your way? Are you really about that? Or was it just something easy to say because you just wrote it down? But again, the finding pot is for silver and the furnace for gold, but the Lord tries the heart. I'm going to see what's in your heart. And as many times as you heard Chief say this before, it got to be in you. It can't be just on you. You can't wear this thing like a shirt because you're going to get tried. You're going to get tested. And that's when everybody starts. It's a lot. Why am I say everybody? A lot of people will start saying, why me? Why do I have to go through this? Because I got to separate you. I got to separate you from those who are just jaw japping, from those who are just talking, from those who are just professing, from those who actually have a heart for the people. For those who actually have a heart for the Most High and a heart for the dwelling places where the Most High is going to reside. Let me see. I got to see that. I got to put that thing to the test. You can't just walk around saying how smart you are. Well, let's see what it looks like on paper then. I can't walk around saying that I'm the best quarterback or the best. Let me see what it looks like when we put those pads on. Are you the same? Or are you now a different person? I'm gonna try. We're gonna try that thing to see what's in the heart. Now, go ahead, Master Like before I
You're getting fired up.
did a little bit, a little bit.
Peace, Achi Zach. Peace,
Peace, good
everyone
brother.
in the
Peace.
space. Yeah, I like the topic that you put forward, and especially with the testing piece. There's another quote that you had said a couple of times. You don't know what's in a tea bag until you put it in hot water. I always like that quote
You better
because
teach.
hey, I'm just learning, brother. I'm just repeating what I heard. You know, uh, but yeah, one of the things I noticed with people who make those loud proclamations, and sometimes you see it like when you're younger and there's like a fight at school, and usually the loudest person is the person who really doesn't want to fight. you know, they, they're trying to hype themselves up for the fight, and sometimes it's like that with people with certain commitments. They start talking a lot, and they start making a lot of noise. They start making a lot of proclamations because in their hearts they really don't want to do it. So that's all they really got. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna, you know, be the very best. And push comes to shove, at the first sign of resistance or the first sign of inconvenience or challenge, they drop it. Oh, that wasn't really for me. I'm thankful for all of the experience it gave me, but I think I'm just gonna go over here and do this thing for now. You start trying to convince yourself with your mouth again that what was really for you wasn't for you. And Chief has taught us on many occasions, your words and your thoughts create your reality. So now your reality, like, it's got all of these contradictions in it. You say this one thing, you do this other thing, and then you do this other thing and say that you always wanted to do it. So you're saying these things to make yourself feel comfortable, but your life is like all of these blocks are piling up that don't fit together. Now your life looks like a bad game of Tetris. You got a bunch of blocks and a bunch of holes, and nothing fits right together. You know, when it comes to the truth and the 14 keys, Chief had wrote that the truth is something that you petition or something that you proclaim when you feel that you're ready for the reverberation of it. So whatever you say, there's gonna be um something to come and test the reality of it. That's how life is born. It's born through that friction. So how can you expect to proclaim something or earn something without going through a little bit of friction, or without being put in the furnace to be tested? How do you expect anything to be firm in your life if you don't go through the fire? So I like that Proverbs verse that you had brought up as well. But that's what I'll add to the bill for now, brother. Give thanks.
Yeah, give thanks for that, man. And it just made me think of it was a Mike Tyson quote that says, everybody has a plan until they get hit, right? And then it started even making me think of there's an old thing that Chief had, which it's hard to stay sucker free in a land full of lollipops, where everybody is able to run to the microphone, just a bunch of talking heads with hollow, dry bones, right? And there was a time when you couldn't even come out without somebody chin checking you, right? Of keeping things in check. But we're in a time now where you can't do that, where you can't really challenge somebody because now they might say it's mental health. You can't really challenge somebody because ultimately you're a bigger vessel and you're not supposed to be doing that because you can hit this person and hurt them. So you should now hold yourself in check. And you can't really challenge the things that they start now saying that comes out of their mouth. Oh, no, show me. Show me. Because the person who's the loudest, just like you said, what's understood doesn't need to be explained. When you have knowledge of self, when you put like the one in front, you don't need to get all loud and hitting your chest and saying what you'll do and what you won't do and all of this. You know it. You know it. And there's a peace that comes over it that, you know what? I'm where whichever direction that anything goes in, I'm ready to go in any direction because I have built myself up to go in that direction. But it's not, if I'm not, it's like, what's it was that little dude in The Last Dragon, and he was making all them loud noise.
You mean to show enough?
Yeah, nah, it was a little Asian joint. He was like making all the noises, but then when it came time to fight, like he wasn't about that life.
Oh, I don't remember that one.
Oh, all right, he wasn't about that life, but he was making all these noises and going through all this, right? And a lot of people start talking, making all of these loud noises, and able to quote scriptures and able to quote our new information and able to quote all of this, but then when it comes down to the meat and potatoes of the nitty gritty, look like Tarzan but play like Jane. What's really in their heart starts coming out of them. They start to get squeezed, and then you start to see the real hangups. Then they start to come out. And a matter of fact, I'm gonna read to you something from the New Way now, from the Salvation model. Um, and it says, "A heavy heart will assail you down from the rapturous tour of evolution. A burdened heart indicates that your humanity has filled the spaces of your spirit and has thrust out your capacity reserved for the weightlessness of your spiritual transcendence." So now, when somebody comes around, others who are now going to start to test to see really what's in your heart, to see really if you're really about that. Now, all of a sudden, I'm not about nation building anymore. It's not in my heart. Or you know what? I need some time away because it's not in my heart, right? But that heavy heart is now being attached to worldly things and a worldly identity. I starts to now, if I really accept this, if I really have it in my heart, I'm gonna change. I don't want to change. I don't really want to make a true change. Nah, I don't want to do that. I want to still try to be around it and soak up a lot of information and soak up a lot of knowledge and soak up the good energy that these folks give. But when it comes down to it, I'm not going to really actually give myself, submit to what is being put in front of me. And now all of a sudden, I start to assail or I start to descend because my heart is just heavy and it thrusts out the capacity reserved for the weightlessness. When one actually starts to search their heart and the Most High is dwelling in that abode, it's not a heavy. It's not. I've heard people. I'm just so heavy, dog. I'm just so heavy. From what? From what? Like, you can try to attack and throw rocks at the throne, but it's not until one gets heavy is when you step down and start going down there. But the only reason one will go down there is to feel like they need to defend something. What's in your heart? And if my heart says that it's pure and I'm gonna keep moving, I'm not gonna be extending bridges that I haven't walked across myself, which is also in the 14 keys. It's very dangerous if you haven't walked across a bridge that you don't know that will support your weight. So yeah, you can say, quote out of the New Way. Yeah, you can quote all of the Bible scriptures you want, but really, when it starts to get hot and heated, when it starts to come down to the nitty gritty, are you still in there? Are you still quoting? Or now does that now thrust you to your humanity that has filled the spaces of your spirit? Uh, Chief, did you want to add anything? Or I can.
Oh, I was just, flowing with the ride, but just, signing in as a speaker in the event that, you want me to pull in. But I guess I'll add on, instead of wasting the time with nothing speaking.
All right.
So, I mean, people do that. Like, oh, I didn't know. Oh, I'm on. I didn't know I was on. Oh, I just, well, you talking now. You might as well say something. so, yeah, I guess I would say, as you're speaking, and I'm envisioning certain situations and certain individuals who have used that same rhetoric. I'm sure we're actually probably envisioning the same individuals. At least some of them. Um, one of the things that I think about very often, as sort of the watcher of Anu, is who sent you. So a lot of times individuals will show up, meaning they apply or they start hanging around the videos or the podcasts or whatever and commenting and things like that. And they may not realize that their arrival was expected because of certain things that may have happened or certain. So let's say, for instance, we have an individual in our community who's struggling with sexual addictions. You know, they have a sex spirit on them and they can't get enough of it, and have not figured out other ways to relate to other people other than that way, right? And then now all of a sudden, a vixen shows up, you know, or an ex promiscuous person who is now trying to use some level of righteousness to clean up their image, you know. And a lot of times, of course, when people come like that, they don't realize that you already know that they're like that. You know, you can see a harlot even before a harlot opens their mouth. You know, you could see someone who's a harlot or has been a harlot, or really if it's still in their heart. So sometimes a person like that may show up and they don't realize we already knew you were coming because we got someone here who's struggling with sexual addictions. So we knew something like you were going to show up already, you know. And it's important. I feel from my perspective to ask who sent this person when they do show up. Who sent you? Were you sent by satanic energy, or were you sent by deified, you know, high deity Elohim energy? Which one sent you? You know, and sometimes they seem to do the same thing when they come through. You know, so like you have to be able to go beyond um, just the manifested actions, and you got to look at the spirit and try to retrace that person's step when they show up. Like you said, some people will come and they got all the pom poms in the air, and then when it comes down to it, where they have to actually choose a master, they tell you who their master has been the whole time. You know, because that's who sent them. You know, their father sent them. Their father, the devil, sent them. You know, so it's important a lot of times to honestly try the people around you by fire in that way. You know, make a hostile environment for things that are not supposed to be there. If you're moving with righteousness, then it's no problem. Just like if you're a person who's fiery, if you are really committed into righteousness, if you're really committed into establishing the tribal order, reestablishing the tribal order, then it would behoove you to surround yourself with people who feel the same way and who act the same way, you know. And what happens is you'll find that people who are sent by other entities, everybody who's around them is like that too. Their friends are like that. And I mean, something as simple as going through looking at their social media friends. All their social media friends and who they follow will be the same way, you know, because they're not comfortable around people who are fiery, you know. And if you are fiery, or if you are really if you are really committed and invested, they'll start to try to tear that away from you, which I've also seen before. Like, oh man, all you talk about is I knew. All you do is quote what Chief says. All you do is this. What about, well, what other stuff would you like to do? You know, and then you'll start to realize, oh, that's who sent you. You know, or something as simple as like their comfortability with their failure. You know, they are stuck in a kind of a non-repentant sinful sort of mindset, and it could be something like, you know, they are committed to toxic feminism or toxic masculinity, or to destructive eating, destructive words, destructive actions, and they're comfortable with it. They might even laugh it off or make excuses, things like that. You know, you start to realize, okay, I know who sent you. You know, because your whole goal is to establish a stronghold for your dysfunction in the same way that Lucifer sought to establish a stronghold above the Most High. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that. So you come into the place of the high heavens, because Lucifer could have, instead of being like, I'm going to sail above the Elohim and the council of the gods, he could have been like, yo, you know what? I'm going to leave where y'all are at, and I'm going to establish my kingdom in a different dimension. But instead, Lucifer comes into the dimension that was already created by other entities and says, okay, I'm going to go mess up your thing. it's like people coming into our new. Like, I'm gonna go mess your thing up. Instead of saying, you know what, I'm on a different vibe. I'm on a different thing that I'm trying to do here. I'm gonna go establish my own, but they can't because they don't have that creative spark, which lets you know they're not one of the chosen people. So as I'm just listening, and there's a lot to. I don't want to hog the thing, but um, when I hear about this, the idea of like trying a person's heart, I think about the fact that some people, it doesn't matter what you say, they're not going to do anything other because they have been sent by someone who's already programmed their heart, and you're looking to brainwash them when you bring them into righteousness, which is a detoxification. And the reality is they're already very much committed into what they're doing, and what they're seeking to do is to destroy you. And that's where their commitment is. And sometimes you can, like I said, you could tell by looking at people. You look at their eyes. Some people got dead eyes, or they have a sociopathic sort of point of view where they never can feel for anyone else. They never can feel for anyone else's pain, anyone else's hurt, anyone else's struggle. Um, they they're not very helpful, or if they are, it's very point driven. They want to be seen as being helpful, which is that Luciferian spirit. I. Look at me, look at me. They want glory, glory, glory. And the moment they don't get glory and they get correction, is when now they want to go berserk. And that's a part of it, not being able to be accountable. That takes you back to Cain's energy. You messed up, you could have just said sorry, let me do it over. But a person who's sent from lower base energies, demonic energies, never ever ever is accountable for what they do, ever. Because accountability is a mark of humility. And who and what are you humbling yourself to? Whereas that Luciferian spirit, those who are sent by that energy, they don't humble themselves to anything. That was his whole point why he fought his way out of heaven. He said, I'm not humbling myself to you or your creation. So yeah, just wanted to share that.
Man, come with it, G. Go with it. It even made me think in the sense of not only is the person who comes in getting tested, but also the person who is holding a certain position getting tested. Because now, can you fall? Will you fall? Like you said, with the different energy that already exists, will you fall for the big button to smile? Will you fall for somebody who comes in because they have resources? Will you fall? But ultimately, what's still in their heart is their own agenda. Can you see through it? And it makes me even think of that old saying, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Just like I think you said, even you know, seeing what somebody, who they follow on social media. You even start to see now certain people, even talking going back to the accountability piece, where people go to certain people for advice because they know that they're going to give them some screwed up advice. Just like somebody goes back to their ex. I get advice from my ex because they give me the best advice. But yet somehow y'all can't be together. They're not good enough to be your mate, but they're good enough to give you counsel on how to navigate your life. Okay, let me know how that works. What's in your heart though? Like, are you really going to practice humility? Are you really going to be accountable and say, you know what, I screwed some of this up, man. Yeah, let me look back and look over my shoulder and see the destruction and mayhem that I caused. And I may have to make amends, and I may have to even if I apologize, that apology may not be accepted. But guess what? I gotta own that. I gotta be accountable for that so I can grow out of that. Nah, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to. I'm still gonna profess. But even when it started to make me think of now just seeing people of that passage in Ruth, um, where you had one who said, "All right, I'm out of here. I ain't doing that." But then you had another one. If you look at Ruth 1, I was going to do this at the end, but I'm just reading out. Ruth 1. verse 16, it says, And Ruth said, Entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from the following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God. For thou diest, will I die, and there will be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also. If aught be death, part thee and me. Where you go, I go, champ. Like, this is what I ain't just come over here and give you my word and then say, as soon as now something goes wrong or something that doesn't go my way, I'm out. Nope. I'm committed. Where you lodge, I lodge. Where you eat, I eat. Where you sleep, I sleep. Because that's how we get down. Because that's the only thing that I have to give now is my word, and I can't break that for anybody. If my connection to the Most High, and if I'm saying that, then now, okay, whatever it is, let's do it. Because I'm fully committed. And I'm fully committed to say, I effed up here. I'm fully committed to not be so haughty or bragging or bragging, oh, this is what I did. Nuh-uh, man. I'm just doing what I was called to do. And when I'm called to do something, then I have to be obedient to it, which I've heard you say this many, your obedience is better than sacrifice. Your obedience is better than sacrifice. I'm going to be obedient. I ain't going to leave you because you ain't going to leave me. So what we going to do? How we going to make this work? Right? Um, and it makes me, I had another scripture that I wanted to read as well. It's Jeremiah 17, verse 9 and 10. So if anybody is following along, I wanted to read, I wanted to take a second to get there. It says, The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? I, the Lord, search the heart. I try the reins, even to give every man according to his ways and according to the fruit of his doings. Right? And that made me even think of, because, like I said before, we tried to read Ruth. Now even going back to when he met Boaz, he's like, I know you, man. Like, I know what you're about. I know really what's in your heart, and make sure you're good. Like, I'm gonna make sure you're looked out for, because again, even to give every man according to his ways and according to the fruit of his doings. But it ain't in the doings of I'm doing this in order to get something. I don't know. We look at the story, she didn't know what was going to happen. If ultimately, if you had to pull from what I pull from it, at least, is there's a chance that I'm never going to be redeemed. There's a chance that I'm never going to come out of this. It's just going to be me and my fairy godmother, and that's it. But guess what? I'm committed. I'm committed, and I'm sold out, because that's what's in my heart, man. And I can't go back and get that back, because ultimately then that's gonna start to weigh on my peace and weigh on my consciousness, knowing that I just went back on my word. But again, you're gonna get tested. Are you gonna step up and meet the challenge? Are you gonna step up and pass the test? Or, like in grade school, do you have to take the retake? Some people may not even get a retake. But now it starts to come, it intensifies now. You're gonna get another test. Here you go. What you want? Oh, you don't like that one, huh? Okay, let's come at them even harder. Are you going to pass the test now? What's in your heart? Are you going to step up to the plate? You going to step up to the challenge? You going to meet your requirement? Or are you going to pee down your leg? Or are you going to start to now write your letter of retraction and saying, you know what? This ain't for me. You know what? I thank you for all the time that you've given me, but it's best that I take my talents to South Beach. No, Like, you- hey, there, now all of a sudden you fold like a lawn chair. What's in your heart? What's in your heart? It doesn't now all of a sudden these challenges, you know what to pull from. I know I've been studying. I know now I lean on this information. I lean on my group that if this is what I've been studying and this is what I say I'm about, then these things are going to pull me through any tough time that you can try to put on me. This is how I said this is the blueprint of how I get out of here right here. What we doing? Where you go, I go. I'm not leaving this. I'm not going to interject. Oh, you know what? Nah, let me show you what's really in my heart and the weight of the world and the world and my care and the perception of me and how I think other people perceive me means more to me than my commitment that I've already given. So guess what? Now I'm just going to jump out. I'm jumping out of the plane and I begin to fall. And all of a sudden I'm wondering why I just feel so heavy, dog. I just feel heavy, dog. I don't know why. Even though I'm gonna try and get on him, I'm gonna try and teach all of these things that I've learned in there and all of that. But at the end of the day, it just feel heavy because you got away from the teaching. You got away. You didn't want to stay in alignment. Um. Oh, I wasn't looking down. Whoever raised your hand, you can raise it again, and then I'll pull you in. I was. I just saw a green flash. My apologies. There we go.
Getting fired up.
Yeah, I wasn't looking down.
Yeah, but I just wanted to add too. Um, there was it's like a proverb, like a short story. You know, someone saw the snake on the side of the road. I guess was run over by a car or something, and he picked it up, took it home, like nursed it back to health and everything. You know, fed it, washed it and everything. You know, after a while, the snake got strong, and eventually the snake bit him. You know, and the guy was like, "What are you doing? You know, I picked you off the side of the road. You know, I fed you. I I made sure you were straight, and that's how you can treat me." And he was like, "Yo, you should have known I was a snake from the time you picked me up." You know, and sometimes
mm,
I've seen people who sabotage themselves in that way too. Like they, it's almost like they go intentionally, like you were talking about with the ex who gives the best advice. Like they intentionally hang around people they know mean them no good. You know, talking about the people who you have around you or the people you surround yourself with. You know, they want to be around the people who are going to stab them in the back, so they could have that victim story later. You know, well, I didn't do what I was supposed to do because I allowed myself to trust other people. Like you you surrounded yourself with a bunch of people who are trying to destroy you. You know, it's almost like that Samson and Delilah story. Like he knew she was trying to destroy him from the first trick she tried to play on him. You know, and he was like, "Man, just leave me alone. I'm going to sleep." You know, it's like, "Oh, if you love me, you would tell me how to kill you." It's like what? You know, but
right.
just knowing what's in the heart around other people um, around you, and knowing that that reflects what's in your own heart and your own mission. You know, because if you were really about what you said you were about, you really would realize that you can't afford um, those types of distractions. But you can't afford to have unnecessary tests in life. You would want to make sure that you keep your road or your path as clear as possible. You know, and what comes your way, you can deal with it because your heart is light. But if you keep piling a bunch of food on your plate that you know has no nutritional value, it's just gonna make you sick. You know, you're gonna get sick. You know, you can't walk around wondering why you got sick because you brought that on yourself. You brought that in your life. You know, so it also goes back to that accountability that Chief was speaking about. You know who these people are that you're picking up along your walk, or you know who the snakes are when you pick them up off the side of the road, and you don't know what karma brought that state on them. So it's very dangerous when you're oblivious to what was really in your heart or where your heart is driving you. If you're not really about it and you just keep talking about it, um hoping that some of it will, I don't know, some of it will somehow magically put you in a place where you don't have to commit, but you also don't have to do any work either. You're gonna get got because the test is gonna come. Life doesn't really overlook anyone. Like if you say you're about something, then you're gonna get tested. The first thing that happened to Ruth when she went back with Naomi is she had to go to work. That was the first thing she had to do. She didn't just go there and sit up in the house. She got sent to work.
Man, and even when you just talking, made me think of there was a lecture that Chief had given, and it was about one of the things that he used, and there was the Matrix. When I forgot that dude's name, he was like, "Oh man, you scared the bejesus out of me," right? And then I'm gonna butcher this, but that's all right to do my
So you mean
best.
psycho?
He's like, it was Bar Jesus or the twin, and he always had red on, which I mean, it was the energy that he was coming with. And even when you said that, there's no nutritional value in that, even in that movie, he was like, man, I just want to taste a steak, man. And like, I know nothing like nutritional about this or whatever, and I know it's just my brain telling me, but I just want it again, right? Because ultimately, that's what was in it. I don't really care about what y'all are doing down here. I don't really care about all of this quote unquote nation building and actually getting yourself together and putting the one in front of not having knowledge of self and having knowledge of the Most High and then giving value to everything that comes behind it. I don't really care about all that. That's a lot of work, man. That's a lot of stuff that I have to go through. That's like a lot of sewage that I got to crawl through of a lot of stuff that I've done. I'm not doing that. I'm not interested in that. Um, I'm just interested. Just put me back, man. Just just put me back because that's not what's in my heart. I see brother Raheem and Softer Arlene and Aki Isaiah. Go ahead and feel free to jump in.
Yeah, peace, peace.
Peace.
So, as I was listening to the conversation, it just made me think, like, when you first started, how you were using the sports example, how you'll be tested, but even if you don't put yourself in that position to be tested, everyone still has to face a test, and that test's name is time. We all got to face the test of time. And that could go in every facet of your life, whether it's eating, working out, studying, whatever it is. Time is gonna show how committed you are. Like like Chief says, it gotta be in you and not on you. So as you as you do things over a course of time, it shows on you. Like if you're a football player and you're working out every day and all that, people can notice that. Or if you're doing any kind of sport. So with the conversation, it just made me think of that. We all got that test of time, even if you don't necessarily have a physical opponent. There's also the invisible one as well, which is time. So I just want to share that bit real quick.
Right on. I give thanks for that. It makes me even think of there was something that Chief has said before of being in a boxing ring. And though people may try to come up with all of these new schemes and ways to try to knock somebody out, ultimately it's going to come down to a jab, jab, cross. Right? And it made me think of what you just were saying, like testing time. That certain things are tested, tried, and true. We talk about certain things. That's what we say. These are not just thoughts, theories, and ideas, but calculations. calculations is gonna tell you jab, jab, cross. Not, oh, you know what? Try this. And if it don't work, call me in the dawning. No, no, no. Because sometimes you may not wake up from some of these mistakes. That one ain't no coming back from some of these mistakes. So now either you're going to now follow the guidelines and say, you know what? Jab, jab, cross, because or you're gonna try to reinvent the wheel, and then it's easier to be a victim now though. Because when now, well, you know what, I ain't do that, or someone so told me to do that, or I was just trying it out, and now, it just seems like I just got demon. I'm fighting demons. These demons just keep coming at me, and I don't know why. Come on, man. Come on. Come on. It's right there. The calculations are right there. Tried and true. Withstood the test of time. Do you want to go down that path, or do you want to deviate from it? I like to do my own thing. Yeah, I like to do my own thing. All right, Soft Darlene, did you want to jump in, Brother Raheem?
Peace. Give thanks, Aki Zach. As I was listening, um, I was thinking about what Chief had also stated about you can tell what people are by, like, when you watch they follow on Facebook, and even just the company they keep. And it took me to Hebrews 4:12, because it says, "For the word of the Most High is living and active, sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing to division of soul and spirit, of joint and marrow, and discerning thoughts and intentions of the heart." And when I think of that, because like in a new, oh, it's going to be obvious where your heart is at. Because, and if, like, as you said earlier, it's going to show if you're studying, if you're not studying. And it's going to also be obvious if you keep in company with someone who is living outside of the principles and the standards that we live up to in a new, or at least we're supposed to be ascribing to live up to, you know. So I just wanted to add that because, the word of the Most High, it is a two-edged sword, and it's going to divide you from, it's going to show if you live in righteous, and if you're living, if the desires of your heart are for the Most High. Because if you desire, to please the Most High, it's going to be reflected, and those desires are of your heart is going to show, um, because they're going to be answered. If you delight in His desire, then you're going to desire what He wants you to desire. If you delight in the principles and the community that we chose to be in a new, it's going to show. So, just as the test of time, it also shows with the company that we keep. And that was just something that just stood out to me as everyone was talking before me. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you for that too. Made me think of that saying, "The truth is like a lion. You let it go, it doesn't need to defend itself. It'll defend itself, man. Like you don't." And it makes me think of when people start, um, like when I used to listen to some of the old Chief Speaks, and it'd be like, "Well, let me tell you some more about my situation. Let me give you some more about it." And he'd be like, "Don't need it. Don't need it." Right? Because when you're living and breathing and it's just dripping off of you, right? You don't need all of that information. You don't need to keep explaining or let me give you some more to try to make you see what I see. I don't need it. I don't need it. I can see through you, man. Right? But what's in your heart? What what is going on in your head? Where do your convictions lie? Where do your desires lie? Um, and I've said this before. I'm gonna say this like that, and I keep going back to it. As my man in the 300, I want to help. Can you hold a shield? Nope, I can't do any of that. But I still want to be down there. Nah, man, you do this. I don't like that job. Now all of a sudden, but you can easily be coaxed out of it because now somebody shows you a couple tails and some gold and all of these things. And all of these things can be yours. Oh, Okay. Well, come on, man. You really gonna sell yourself, sell your group for a sandwich? What, turkey sandwich? Come on. Hey, what's in your heart? And it's gonna get tested. And it needs to be tested to see where you stand. Am I standing with my group? Am I standing, even though I may not have the job or the role that I feel like I should have or whatever? Am I working towards that? Or what's in my heart is I don't really care about this group, actually. I don't really care about this group of people that I'm with, that I've been studying with, that I say Aki and brother and sister and a Koti. And I don't really care about that. I don't. Where the goal at? Money, hoes, and clothes. All a brother know. Man. All right. Brother Raheem, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, peace everyone.
Peace.
I wanted to kind of like build on the topic named Google the Heart. I really loved this topic because I was like thinking about this to myself actually a lot this weekend and this week about just like the heart, maybe where my mind lies at and where my heart lies at. And what I came to was on my consistency. And when you were speaking about the Most High won't leave you, so why would you leave Him? It's like I find myself, stepping out the door, maybe for 25% of the time to do maybe to do stuff that maybe like smoke, for instance, right? Or maybe to play a game on my phone because I don't have social media, but I play a game where I just lie down and just listen to music or stuff like that. I find myself wasting time when I could really be putting that time towards more useful things like that, right? And when it comes to googling, I think of like research, right? So you're going online and you're googling information and stuff like that. That information can only take you so far, and that's something that I'm really learning right now. And it bring me back to like that sports thing that you were speaking about. And for me, it was basketball, right? Coming in basketball, being like 6'4", you know, everybody's. I'm in grade 8, so everybody's probably like 5'5", 5'7", right? I'm the biggest guy, but can't do 2 push-ups. I'm the biggest guy, but can barely do suicides. You see what I'm trying to say? So for me, um, I feel like this is kind of like a repeat of one of those type of situations where I come in as the guy who doesn't really know much, right? But I worked so hard when I was playing basketball to get to that point because I didn't not because I wanted to be the best. I never wanted to be the best because I always feel like someone else can be. No one can be the best at the end of the day. Everybody's just best as good at what they could do, but I wanted to be the best of what I could be, right? So I found myself pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing to the point where, I got myself to higher heights and was able to do better in the sport and stuff like that, which I look back at and I see now I need to take that consistency that I had for the sport and put it into the to the will of the creator so I could really be what it is I want to be and give what the creator wants me to give because even now I find myself in the past few weeks my life is changing and I'm able to help youth more. I'm able to go in and speak to middle schoolers and I'm able to be around more kids and give back whatever information I have and even people who may be my age give back to them as well, right? So, but to me, that's still not enough, right? And I feel like even from hearing you guys speak as well, that's still not enough. There's still a lot more that has to be put in, and I can't be lackadaisical and start to ease back and think that it gets easier from here. Like I honestly like the way Coach Zach speaks. Not Coach Zach, sorry. That's Zach, brother Zach speaks because he reminds me of a coach, right? When I was in sports, you have that coach who's in your ear. My coach was really in my ear. He would chirp at me all the time, but you know, I knew he loved me because to this day, me and him still have a good relationship. So no matter how deep he would go into my chest, or no matter how angry he may get, it was because he knew I could do better and he knew I could get better. And even when I speak to Master Menelek, when me and him get to speak, and he was speaking about me just speaking from want a lot, right? And saying I want this and I want that and I want this and we were able to figure out a better way of me phrasing my words because it's not about a want, right? The heart can want everything, right? But the creator is not gonna give you everything. He doesn't want everything for you, and it's not even a he. But at that, we must do what the creator is asking us to do. And I find that, if I could bring a little bit more consistency to my work, and more attentiveness to my work, and make sure I'm more focused into what I'm doing, I could maybe see the results that you guys are possibly speaking about, and be able to truly give back to my family and my community in the ways I can. Because I would love to bring my family, first of all, to different heights, and even bring a new globally, and bring all these things globally. And I know that's a wide stretch because I'm young and stuff like that, and I should be just focused on certain things. But I would love to be able to just bring the will of the creator down, and express it in the way I can, and without any type of unnecessary things in the way. But thank you. I really love this topic.
Thanks. And you just made me think. Well, you made me think of a lot of things. Uh, but even in the sports, when you're saying that, one can only do two push-ups, one can only there's a saying that even goes in sports: leave it on the field, right? Like, leave it on the field. Give everything you have. Completely devote yourself. I can live with the results of a loss. I can live with the results if it's a win. But god dang it, I can't live with it if I know I didn't give everything that I had. Now that's when regret starts to eat one up, right? Now, you can ask yourself now at this point though, what's really in your heart? If you really say that you have a heart for people, then you'll have a heart for actually digging into the information. You'll have a heart for submission, because ultimately, down the road, people are going to have to submit to you. But if you haven't submitted to the doctrine, if you haven't submitted to your teacher, if you haven't submitted to the Most High, how do you expect somebody to get it from you? You have to completely submit yourself. Then you have to completely leave it on the field. You know what? Even when I start to find myself, which we had this conversation the other day, is what happens when you start to procrastinate? What happens when you start to, do things and go down certain roads? Now you got to, for me, it's that self-talk. Get your butt up and let's move, man. I've heard Chief say this numerous times. There's certain things that he studies, not because he needs it, because he knows that somebody else may need it down the line. Somebody else may need this information. Are you leaving it on the field like that? Are you completely just leaving it on the field? Well, I'm going to devote myself to this because this is what I said I'm about, and this is what's in my heart. Now, that doesn't mean that there's going to be some nights where you gonna feel the burn. There's going to be some days you're like, man, I don't feel like doing it. Just like running wind sprints. Because now all of a sudden I need to see what it looks like in practice before I can just put you in a game. I need to see what it looks like when you on your own before I can put somebody in front of you saying, okay, now this is somebody I need for you to help. How do you expect to help this person when you didn't go, you skip practice, you skip reading, you skip study session, you skip devoting yourself, you skip submitting, you skipped all of these things, but you want the glory of a champion, but you got the heart of a quitter. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. And you didn't leave it on the field, man. You should be completely emptied out. What is the Ori that leaves at the beginning and the dawning shouldn't be the same Ori that comes back. And that's one of those little small things of some people just trying to get through the day with somebody else. Just what can they get from the day? What can I get from this? Or what impression? What can I glean from this? So now I can put this in my package. I can put this in my basket because now here's a tool that can be utilized if somebody else needs it. Oh, here you go. You need a soccer wrench for that. Yeah, you got a hammer, but you need a soccer wrench. Trust me, I've been through that. I've walked through that. I know that. Right? These are the calculations. I'm burned now trying to making sure that I know this information. So I ain't just spitting it out. And then I walked across the bridge of the information, and I know it's gonna hold your weight because it's held my weight. You going through that? You doing that? Is that really in your heart? Or you just jaw japping? You just jaw japping. Anyway, Albert Cruz, I see you in here. Did you want to add something? All right, now here I see you. Uh-oh, I think I got you, uh, Albert Cruz.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, my apologies. Thanks, coach. I'm on the field now.
Well, go get benched, brother. No, I'm just
Yeah, man. Give thanks, man. Give thanks, man. It's, right here, my secondary emotion. I think all of us at Anu do. You know, we always take full joy to listen to Aki Zach when he steps up to give us a lecture or facilitate lectures. You know, he takes it to another level. Yeah, man. So there's a couple of things that were mentioned in the clubhouse today, and also want to say, give thanks, Chief. You know, want to say proper greetings to the Chief Elder and the Anu family. You know, when me, Aki Master Menelik, sorry, had mentioned the story of Samson. So the first thing I thought about was obligation, but as it tied into the thread that Aki Zach was actually sending us down. Samson's obligation, we often think about what happened with him with Delilah, but like Chief reminded us, you know, some time ago when we first were privileged to actually enter into the Anu family, you know, he spoke about the laws that Samson would have broken even before he came into contact with Delilah. And this is attributed to the obligation that he actually was supposed to be living, which was the Nazarite vow. He wasn't supposed to touch anything dead, and there are a listing of other things. So I won't go down them too far. But you know, when you think about we fame him on his strength and him being able to slew this great army with a donkey jaw's bone. You know, we also have to think about the laws that he would have broken in that timeline, in that walk, and then we think about how that applies to our life. You know, so we can do things that are easy because we are able to do them, but how does that fit into actually the journey that we're on now? You know, so if I'm able to be a cheat, or if I'm able to take advantage of somebody, you know, how does that walk with my righteousness and my righteous path that I'm living now? Is it a regression that I'm pulling back to, or you know, am I really and truly being redeemed? So you know, Raheem, when you mentioned just now your family, one of the things that we learned in Anu is that there is a difference between family and relative. You know, like Chief taught us some time ago, when we enter not just this space but the space of the walk on the journey to learning ourselves and the connection to the Most High, we realized that we got a hookup when we came here. You know, we weren't intended to stay where it is that we started. You know, this is the journey that's never ending. And then I tie that thought into what you mentioned about Ruth and Akoti Deidre. She gave a presentation on that sometime on one of our Shabbat ciphers about the story of Ruth. So then I think about choices, you know, because here it is, you have two sisters who were on the same journey. Some biblical scholars would say that their father was actually the king of Moab. Some would say that, you know, they came from a line that was noble. But nevertheless, you know, they had a so-called comfortable life and lifestyle that they could have lived there. So the choices that they made would actually determine, obviously, how their families would turn out. So no matter what the choice of her life is, in Ruth's case now, you know, it's presented to her that if you came on this journey, what you had thought of your life will not actually be the case. That's a possibility. And of course, at that time, it was a disgrace for women to not have children. So, you know, Naomi beseeched her, she stressed her the fact that, look, when you come into this land, you're not from here. So that's already a stand. And you're a widow. That's another stand. Ain't no man gonna want you, you know. So you know, I also think about those choices for us. You know, when we start our journey, we may have these viewpoints in our life, like, okay, this is what I'm going to do at this is what I'm going to do at that point. But when we start the journey, you start to realize that no, I can't do that because that here doesn't that's not facilitated on the Almighty's plan for me the way it's unfolding. You know, will you make a choice then to actually stay put and go back down that other path, or will you continue to be redeemed as Ruth did? You know, and I think that's a powerful story to even apply to this because one of the things that we learned in that story, and Akodi Deidre pointed out in her lecture to us, was that the provisions were made because as she started the journey, Boaz, being a righteous man, he didn't violate the law and just take her because it was something that he possibly could do. He still stuck with the law, and because of that, he made other provisions for her. So here it is. Instead of picking up scraps, he left a little extra for her so that she can get her up, and therefore her line was then redeemed because through that we get King David and we get King Solomon, who was her great grandson. Now, some biblical scholars will say her sister made a choice and then they brought forth a conflicting line, which would be Goliath. I won't go too far on that part, but choices on how we redeemed and also choices on how we continually move forward. Those are the things that we want to be focused on. And Chief gave us a a segment called the Kether, and that speaks about pulling up. It has to be uncomfortable, and the Almighty gives us everything that's intended for us, but it's not all in arm's length. You know, it's you have to condition yourself. So when you start off, you may not be able to actually lift that 100 pounds across 20 yards to the next point. But as you condition yourself and you continually pull yourself up to the Kether, that 100 pound, that scholarship, that thing that you had to study for a year is going to be what helps you to redeem your cousin, and it helps him to come on board. You know what I mean, or helps him to see the light. So often I'll put myself back on mute. But to this point, those are some strong things that I took from the dialogue, and just give thanks for being present. And hopefully, not hopefully, the plan is that we continually make the choices to live up to the responsibilities of this life that we're actually given, so that we do not be tempted to soar above where it is that we're pulling to, but to walk in alignment with where it is that it's instructing us to do. Yeah, man. Bless it up.
And even when it made me think of a segment. I want to say it was a Commander Day, and in this, we'll say, Cyclops gave us some another great example of one going to like the UK, or one going to a different country where they drive on the opposite side of the road. Now, one can come from wherever they come from and say, hey, you know what? I know that's the law, but where I'm from, this is the side of the road that I drive down. This is the path that we take. And because this is the path that we take, well, that's what I'm going to do. Now, they can get themselves in a lot of trouble when they go off and try to go against what that law states in that particular area. And now all of a sudden, they can start to say that they're a victim, or they can feel like they have a lot of anxiety or a lot of depression because it seems like everybody is just attacking me. Why is everybody attacking me? Well, everybody is attacking you because you are now violating the law. Well, there is spiritual law that one must adhere to. Now, you can violate the law and say, guess what? This is what I've always done. This is the way we've always done it. Why does everybody feel like they're attacking me? Why does everybody feel like I have now anxiety? Why does it feel like I have depression? Are you keeping the law? Or are you trying to bully the law? Do you feel like you want to just do your own thing? Because that's just the way it's always been done? Or do you want to get underneath the umbrella and I'm going to keep this and I'm going to put this in my heart? And I just know I'm not going to do it because that's just not the right thing to do, which then keeps one from having to run up against a bunch of battles and fights that are unnecessary, that are things that they don't have to do. Because now your law is already telling you this is what you do, this is what you don't do. This is the path you take, this is the path you don't take. This is the side of the road you drive down, this is not the side. Somebody has already got these scars. Somebody has already got these battle wounds. Somebody has already fought these battles. So now you can now make some new mistakes, not keep doing the same mistakes that have been made. And if you hear sometimes when Chief is speaking, he says some of these stories I gotta make your hair turn white. But some people just want to see for themselves. They want to be hard headed. This is the way I've always done it though. You just gotta let me tell you some more of the story. Don't need it. Don't need it. Did you do what was just put in front of you and it would clean your life up? If you put it in your heart and carry it around, well, now all of a sudden, you give this book to a child because you now have graduated and you can move on. But nope, I feel like I should be at the top where he's at because I read the book. Now I don't really ask a question about the book. I don't know it. Ask a question about something. Don't know it. But I've already read it. I got that. What else you got? Go back. Go back and put it in your heart, man. Go back and run your wind sprints. Yeah, it's gonna burn. I already read it. Read it again. I already read it. Read it again. I've already listened to it. Listen to it again. And then listen to it again. It's no different than running a wind sprint. It's no different than doing a push up. The way you do more is to do it again. And then do it again. And then do it again. It ain't no, oh yeah, I've arrived. It ain't no, yeah, I made it. You can go back and read the same passage that you've read 15 times. You can read it 16th and 17th and get something totally different. All you have the willing, you gotta have the gumption. You gotta have some heart. That it's not always gonna look the way you want it to look. It's not always gonna be the way you want it to be. But guess what? In order for me to get this, I gotta feel the burn. I gotta go through it. Yeah, Eddie. Harut, I know you in here. Did you want to add something?
Wow, give thanks. I just want to give thanks to you, Aki Zach and Master Malek and our great Chief Yuya for being our Chief Jegna and showing us that, again, going back to building on this. And what came to mind that I wanted to share briefly was, like you said, and like especially when Chief was mentioning about the heart, is that in the scripture it was saying about seek ye Yah's kingship or his domain over you, and everything else is given to you. It's as simple. But then we get caught up in the world. We get caught up in our way. We get caught up, and then because we choose not to put Yah first. And so what I appreciate about building what you just shared is just follow the law. That's it. If you follow the law, you'll be successful. But no, like you said, Cypher, he was scared about Neo because he walked in a room and Neo scared the bejesus out of Cypher. Why? Because he didn't notice the divinity that was there in his presence. So what he did, he wanted to go back. But like Chief said, his heart wasn't right because his heart was already intentional to come in, and that's why I'm grateful being in Anu, because you get to see who's here, who was here in the beginning, and who's not here. And then the question is, who's not going to be here a week from now, a year from now? Because why? Like Chief was sharing, I already knew the snakes were here. I already knew, but guess what? Your heart wasn't right anyway, but you're not going to be here long because why? It's going to get harder. The challenges are going to get more. You're going to be tested. And that's the funny thing about, which always confused me about people, because they never think that they're not going to get called out or challenged, or that life is not going to have a moment where you you think you can continue your craziness, your manipulation, and it's not going to affect the group. And we got a chief Jegna can, or better yet, when you put Yah first, and Yah shows you who are your snakes and who are the ones that are meant to be here. Because again, are they doing the work? Are they applying the work? So I just wanted to add and to contribute to the conversation, like you said, and like I said, the scripture shares it very simply. Put Yah first, and everything else is simple. And that's why I notice with sometimes with people, they have a hard time letting go. Even if that's why their heart ain't there, because like you said, they weren't going to stay because their heart ain't right. But that's why it's hard for them to let go, because why? Their father is the devil, like Chief would say. So I just wanted to add to and to contribute to the discussion, and I give thanks for, like I said, building that heart. Or what is your heart? Is your heart that of Yah, or is your heart of the devil? And so I just want to give thanks.
Coming back out of the salvation model, with all of this said, everyone who is called will not make it through the door. Some have hearts that are heavier than the Maotic feather. This means their human drama outweighs their spiritual levity. When you were just talking, and maybe I had it down here. When you were just talking, I was like, that's a great segue into that one. Because even though some people, yeah, I'm doing it, that human drama still is outweighing and it's keeping them, you not in alignment, man. And even though some people, Chief had said this in one of his certain daggers that people start to now send from themselves because they're angry. But even though that they're in alignment, well, I'm doing the law, I'm doing everything that's required of me. But there's certain daggers that you're sending out. There's certain vibration that you're putting out. Then now all of a sudden people can feel, that's not what's in your heart. It's not what's in your heart. Human drama outweighs their spiritual levity. When somebody is doing the work and actually putting the work in, you get nice and light. When somebody is just going through the motions, it's still heavy, dog. It's still heavy. But still trying to do it with a smile, but acting like people can't see you. No, we see you. We see you. It's just a matter, though, now of are you really committed to it by putting it in your heart, or are you just jaw japping? All right, now I'm going to take it to back in the new way. And I'm coming from the modesty. Oh, sorry, I got you. It should be in there. Aki Hamza. I don't know what's going on with this. There we go. All right, brother. Yes, you can be heard. Okay, Aki Hamza.
Yo, yo. Hey, big up, big up, big up to you, Achi Zach. You putting it down here. Well, I want to drop an amen in the comment section, but I'm driving right now. And shalom to the space, shalom to Chief, shalom to everybody that's joined. And honestly, I've been dealing with everything you saying right now, and it's like I even like said something on social media last night, like because I like even when I read the topic of what we were discussing, and then I look back at all of the past affirmations that we've had, even when it goes back to the flags. And then I had to realize and take a real assessment this past couple of weeks of all the flags that I did have in my heart. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, at some point, I do admire like the walk that you and Master Menelek can even take him. Because it's like, it looks so, like, I get it at this point. Like, I get a lot of it that a lot of times you don't get sometimes, but then it's like, and sometimes it clicks when certain things are said and put into perspectives, you know what I mean? So it's like every affirmation that we've gone, it's like, it's just like a steady beat, a steady beat, and steady beat, a steady beat, and steady pulse. And it's like, yes. And it's like, I can even, like, as you was having the discussion, I can feel my heart like, like pounded on me, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's my own conviction within me. And it's like, and I just wanted to just say, man, you hitting it right on the head, and I'm dealing with the same thing right now, man. And I just wanted to give a big shout out to you, you know what I mean? You doing it, and you in the flow right now. I love it, I like it. All right, but that's it, peace, chill, that's it, that's all I want to share.
Already. Give thanks, good brother, for the stamp of approval. So I'm going to come from modesty, and this is the last thing I'll read. Modesty comes from your heart. And this is from the Anu way. When you carry reservation in your heart, it will reflect in your speech and garb. You're going to start to know, like, people who have a poverty, we spoke about this the other day, of having a poverty mindset, of one having to, I came from nothing, so I got to show you all of this fancy designer stuff that I put on me and all of that, because ultimately, though, broken inside. It's not, when you wealthy and you know that the Most High is dwelling in your heart, and you new principles dwelling in your heart, you don't get caught up with all of that. Oh, they looking at my shoe. These KDs right here. You ain't doing all this boasting and trying to get up, man. You got reservation in your heart because I'm wealthy. I'm wealthy. And I don't need to start to ascribe to all of these different things that somebody now tells me this is the next thing. That if I don't have this, then I won't be viewed in a certain way. If I don't have this, then people are going to look down on me in a certain way. Or, you know what? If I don't have this many women that I'm supposed to have sex with by this time, or if I don't have this many cars sitting out in front of my lot, or if I don't have this many, well, then you ain't no boss, or you ain't this and you ain't that. No, I'm wealthy. I'm wealthy. And that doesn't mean that you become lazy. And that doesn't mean that, oh, yeah, you just start to sit back and have this durational spirit. That's not what I'm saying. So please don't miss what I'm saying here on this one. But ultimately, it's just like it states in here, it will reflect in your speech and it will reflect in your guard. So even your speech, there's certain conversations that you know what? I'm not even going to jump in on these. I hear where you're at. And because now one has done the work, either this person's going to be receptive and it's just going to be they want to get into a debate, or you know what? This ain't the right time for me to share this information. I'm not going to come down to the strip club and all of a sudden start telling people how they should be righteous. This is not the time nor the space, and I probably shouldn't even be in it. So guess what? I'm out. Right? Or even if you might be at a barbecue and now all of a sudden people start telling you why you eating this and all of that, and they start to gang up on you. Man, this steak ain't gonna hurt you. This hamburger ain't gonna hurt you. And you can start to look around. Why you eating that arugula? Huh? Why you eating that iceberg lettuce? You ain't no rabbit. That's just rabbit food. Now, you can assess the situation and say, you know what? Is this going to be received if I start to break down what you eat and how this is starting to have an effect on your psychological manner? Or, you know what? That's all right. Don't worry about it. You know what? I'm just going to let me just eat my salad and let me move on, man. It's all right. But it's going to reflect in your speech and your guard. And then when it starts to reflect in your speech and your guard, people start to understand who and what you are. And they start to even understand there's certain things that they can speak to you about. There's certain things that they're just going to leave you alone about because they know the answer that's going to come from you. And the answer is now going to start to convict them. Your own presence is going to start to convict them. Because now it's in your heart. They may even start to say certain things like, man, this person think they better than us. Just to try to get you to step down and come down with them. Because misery loves company. What company are you keeping? Are you keeping the company of the teachings in your heart? Or are you keeping the companies of the world? That starts your human drama that starts to weigh you down and keep you trapped. When you are modest, you are able to keep a measurement of how you conduct and present yourself. Ain't just screaming for attention. What's that song? You ain't nothing but a hoochie mama. Hood rat. I'm not trying to get all this attention and trying to show you I gotta shake my this and shake that and to do all of this for somebody. I don't need your attention because I got the attention of the Most High. I got my attention of my Master that's at the house. I don't need all of this. What you trying to tell me that I should get these praise or some likes on the internet? I don't need all of that. That's what somebody's trying to tell you to put you on a rat race. What's in your heart? And when it's in your heart, you know how to conduct and present yourself. A reckless outpouring full of diablerie proves that a person has no sense of the appropriate measure of their own discharge. Yeah, certain people may like it. Yeah, certain people you may get 150 likes and now you an Instagram model. But what is the outpouring full of diablerie proves that a person has no sense of the appropriate measure of their own discharge. No sense of self. No knowledge of self. If you knew where you come from, and there's certain things that you would do, There's certain things that you won't do, certain things that you will say, certain things that you won't say, because I'm connected to a line and a lineage, a bloodline, and that's what the blood is pumping through my heart, through my veins, and we just don't do that. We don't do that. The humility of an individual is a preserver of the being and the atmosphere around them. Be measured in all that you do, as we are a people who accept our charge of virtue and the duty that it holds. Yeah, man. Uh, did anybody else want to add anything?
Yeah, man. As you were speaking just now, there's earlier on in the Anue Foundations, it speaks about we are here to be a beacon to call all lost Anu. And so as you were speaking just now, that same conviction that's in us that's repelling certain people is the same thing that's going to attract certain people to us. So that's also a key thing in the walk. There are going to be certain people who be like, yo, what you want? You know what I mean? I love the energy, man. I've been observing you for a while, and X, Y, and Z. Or, man, I remember when we used to do this, or we used to say that, you over there during lunch, you're reading, and you're this, you're that. I see you doing some community work. Man, I love the vibe, man. What was the transition that you went through? So a lot of times that same thing that's making us feel uneasy because people don't want to be around us, or maybe certain people are unfortunate we have to arms length them, is the same thing that's preparing us to bring those righteous people into our space, and for us to also um, possibly be teachers if we're called to it. But every man in Anu is called to be a Jegna. So we're all teachers in training. We're all chiefs in training. So you also think about that factor too. Every person who's repelled, there's a school of people waiting to be taught. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, full joy for the moment, man.
And I think one of the things that you said too, though, man, is that walk, and it's the journey. You can't skip steps. You can skip steps coming back down, but you can't skip steps going up. You cannot learn trigonometry if you don't know a simple addition and subtraction. No, no, I know that. Or even if somebody is saying an affirmation of I am great and I am love and I am this and I am that, did you build that affirmation? You don't just, it's not a name it and claim it. It's mine. I want it. No. Did you put in the work for that? Did you feel the burn for that? So that you now have the muscles to sustain that. Or if not, you're going to lose that. As fast as you got it, that's as fast as you're going to lose it. And now all of a sudden, you're going to be a victim. Or, these demons, they just attacking you now. Now it's easy now. I'm not going to be accountable for saying, yep, I skipped steps. Or, yeah, you know what? I had one teacher, but I felt like I needed more of them because now, it was all right. And a new thing, it was all right. But I just do my own thing so I can now get all of this different information. But now wondering why your life still looks like hell and scut. You gonna skip steps or you gonna actually take the step? You gonna feel it in your quad. You gonna feel it in your calves. Your back is gonna start to get tight. You gonna start to think to yourself, F this, man. I ain't got it. But then you'll start seeing other people, nah, man, they made that hike. Well, if they can do it, I can do it, or it can't be done. But I'm gonna have to go through it too. I'm gonna have to feel it. It's gonna hurt a little bit. I'm gonna feel my calves tighten up. I might have to get stretched out. I might have to get a Gator light. I might get some electrolytes in me, some coconut water in me. I'm hurting here, but I ain't gonna quit though. I'm not gonna. What Ruth say? Where you go, I go. Where you lay, I lay. What you eat, I eat. I'm not gonna quit on you. I know it's gonna be some work. I know there's gonna be some times where I'm like, man, I just want to go to sleep. I just want to watch the game. I just want to just do nothing. But guess what? I can't just be showing up with just an empty plate and a fork talking about, hey, fill up the plate. Nah, I gotta go get it because I gotta make sure that it's in my heart so that I'm not just up here taking up space and just saying give, give, give. Uh, what you got to give? What else you got? What else you got? Nah, I'm gonna make sure that I got every piece, and I'm gonna leave it all on the field. Leave it all on the field.
You know, add in, brother. You know, it's definitely been a good thing to witness in all of you. You know, all of you are getting so much more intelligent. You know, and you know, and I'm witnessing that journey in you all, and I know why you're getting more intelligent. Obviously, it's the application of what you're learning. You know, and it's growing a new mind in you, and that that desire or that drive is not as common as we'd like to imagine. You know, when you have individuals who are completely dedicated in attaching themselves to truth, what they're really saying is that I want to maximize the extreme of what I can be. You know, plain and simple, when you got people who want to be the best men that they can be and the best women that they can be, then they only need a hint towards greatness. Those are not the ones that easily quit or whatever. You know, if you think about it from a relationship perspective, there's two things you kind of think about. One, you know, I brought up earlier about look at the company people keep. You know, if you, as a man, if you see a woman that you're interested in and she has a bunch of friends or associates, or that's my brother, you know, they have all different kind of names for it, that are low vibrational people, you'd probably not want to attach to that person. And even if you did on some level, it wouldn't be for anything serious because you'd only be satisfying your lower nature, right? But if you are thinking correctly, you be, nah, I'm good. You just get away from the person. Nah, I'm not interested anymore, right? Well, consider that, you know, when the Most High views us as a potential bride, and we're so scattered, and we're still adjoining ourselves to all of these different people who we know are not serious, who we know have no level of conviction in their heart, you know, by the Great Mother. You know, that feminine aspect is important. We call it the Holy Spirit, but it's the mother, the wisdom, that wisdom that you also call intuition. But some people just do wrong. They get stuck on stupid. Just keep doing wrong, 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 wrong. And there's no wisdom or intuition inside of them that makes them feel bad, you know, or makes them feel guilty, or makes them say, you know what, this isn't going to work out the way I'm imagining it. I should stop doing this. And the reason is because they don't have that mother. They don't have that. They haven't really developed properly that feminine energy inside of them. And that's a commonality that I don't think gets addressed enough. You know, we all go through different stages in our development, and as we go through our masculine development, we also go through our feminine development. And our feminine development is when we're connecting with the Great Mother, and that's when we're learning how to use wisdom. We're learning how to use intuition, but we're also learning the limitation of our senses. You know, like something could taste sweet but not be healthy, you know, or could taste savory and not be healthy. So in those instances, we're kind of learning our sensibility and where that stops and where that begins. But and then there's that attachment where you're learning the paternal energy or the father energy as well. All of this happens internally, and when you have someone who is completely focused and dedicated into that allegiance and that the understanding that the capability of how strong they can be, how deep they can go, how allegiant they can be to truth, then what they're looking for is something that's going to satisfy that yearning or satisfy that hankering. Whereas some people come into your presence already satisfied in their flesh, you know, which of course is never satisfied. So they just really they're miserable people. And like it was said earlier, misery does like company. But when you are committed to truth, not your truth, you know, but the truth, then what happens is that you only feel some level of peace or some level of joy when you become harmonized by the mother, or you become harmonized by the Ruach HaKodesh, or the Holy Spirit, right? And in that time, when you become harmonized by that maternal energy, then you feel the presence of Yahuwah. You feel the presence, and you can realize it now through your individual self, right? But it creates or it demands that submission to the mother. Some of us have really toxic understandings of maternal energy. We have good relationships with our mother, you know, or we don't want good relationships with the mother. We don't want good relationships with his wisdom. We don't want good relationships with intuition. You know, no matter what we do, it's like, yeah, whatever. So I'm gonna do it anyway. You know, we've had members like that in our new. You know, you point out something to them, it's clearly wrong what they're doing. You can prove it. You can show evidence. No, this it didn't happen like this. It happened like that. Here's your proof. Here's the videotape. Here's the receipts. And they just give you that dumb blank look. So because they are already allegiant to their flesh. And right now, I'm basing all of what I want to do on my emotions. I'm basing my logic on my emotions. So I'm only utilizing logic to prove what I'm feeling. So they're trapped in that sensory place that they were in the beginning and never graduated to developing the father inside of them. You know, they never got to that stage, let alone realizing themselves as the Christ. Like that part will never even come. You know, um, a soul is purified constantly. You know, you think about again another maternal energy. You had three major maternal energies in the Christos: Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, and Martha. You know, and you remember when he came across Mary Magdalene, he removed 7 demons out of her. You know, and every time that she was mentioned and noted, it was all about her consistency and her love and her dedication. You know, so that's like a spirit that we have to have inside of us too. You know, that consistency, that love, and that dedication, and that comes from our feminine spirit. That doesn't come from, oh, I study this and I study that or whatever. It's a different sort of soul consciousness. Your consistency comes from your connection to the soul. Your consistency doesn't come from, oh, I heard Chief speak at a lecture and what he was saying made sense, so I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go rock with him. That doesn't establish anything. You know, yeah, uh, it may signify an attraction, but your consistency is always going to come from your soul because that's the only constant thing inside of you. And the soul, as I've said before, is represented by your feminine energy, whereas your spirit is your masculine energy. You know, so you may hear something intelligent and it may prick a spirit in you. Could be the spirit of arrogance, could be the spirit of ego. There's no soul of ego. There's no soul of arrogance. It doesn't work that way, you know? So yeah, I know that's a lot to add in. And I just wanted to give this little bit too. Some people may be hearing some of this and it's like, man, you know, whether they're listening to Aki Zach or myself at times or someone else, it may sometimes feel like they go in on those people who drop out, you know, or whatever. And you got to understand that, in all decency, a lot of times you all on the outside don't get to hear a lot of times how people walk out the door. And people very rarely walk out the door quietly. You know, they try to damage as much as they can on the way out because they were sent by the devil. Plain and simple. I mean, you don't there's no getting around it. These are demonic, devilish people, you know, and if you really pay attention, you can see that they are from the very beginning. You can see that that's why I say it. Some people I know they ain't staying because I know who sent them. I know they're demonic. I could see all this the spirits on top of them. Sometimes it's the little things they say. Sometimes it's things they don't say. Sometimes it's just the fact that people forget. I'm psychic, real easy. I'm psychic. I see what you don't see, you know, or what you refuse to see. But even if you could, you can't see what I see, you know. But on top of that, there's always a lot of little telltale signs what people say. You know, sometimes they don't realize it. They don't realize Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. They don't realize what they're really saying. And it could be 2 or 3 words. It could be the way they respond to something that's put in front of them and don't realize, like, oh, you're following a demonic script, and they may not be ready to hear that. But, I wanted to speak to that just for a second because when people commit a lot of time and energy and patience into other people, and those other people just skip away when some pressure comes, it is insulting. It's disrespectful and it's insulting. And especially as men, we're very much fueled by loyalty. Loyalty is everything for a man. So that whole, like Zach was pointing out earlier, oh, I learned so much in my time here, and it's just disloyal, it's disrespectful. People went through all this time, all this energy training you and teaching you, listening to you cry and helping you wipe your tears because you got a problem with your mama and a problem with your papa and a problem with your brothers and a problem with your sisters. And Hamza, you making noise in the back. I think you unmuted. You probably hit the button and didn't realize it.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, Chief.
Sorry,
I'm sorry. Hold on.
not probably. I know you're moving around, but you got all these issues that you're coming through the door with. People spend hours and hours and hours helping you, and then when they say, okay, now it's time for you to stand up, or now it's time for you to show some level of commitment, or now it's time for you to acknowledge that some of this is you. Now it's time for you to take accountability. They always leave. Every time they leave. I'm out. I like Brother Zach said, oh, I realize this isn't for me. I'm gonna go back and do this now. I'm gonna go back to reading my tarot cards or this or that. Whatever stupid thing that you were trying to raise them up out of. I'm gonna go back to my Orisha pots. Even though I taught you about that, I taught you how to come out of that, and how to be above the Orisha. Now I'm gonna drop back down to the Orisha. Different things like that. It is a slap in the face, but um, when you're seasoned like myself, I've had more people leave than stay, so I'm used to it. It's like, okay, I know what this is. Plus, I saw you when you came in. I saw how proud you were. I saw how arrogant you were. I saw how you couldn't take criticism. I caught you in several lies and didn't say anything. All of these different things you experience. And as a leader, you got to know, okay, what do I call out now? What do I leave? What may never be changed? But as those who are in the fold and in the flock, they experience that, and I know what it is. Straight up, they get pissed off. They get pissed off, and through their decency, they don't say anything in them. They don't like, what the f is wrong with you, or you're lying, and we know you're lying, and this and that. No, you just leaving because you got to be accountable, or because you got a cold heart, because you're a piece of garbage, you're a scumbag. They won't say things like that. So sometimes you might get in a segment where there's a little bit of venting with explanation that goes on. And I encourage any member of our new continue to do that. Don't feel like you have to bite your tongue, because we're in a time now too where that whole watching from the sidelines, like you said, people are attracted to this. Yeah, everyone's always going to be attracted to something that's powerful and progressive, but again, where is your commitment level? And if there's really no commitment level, then you don't really have to spend much time worrying about them or being concerned with them. And we're in a time now where you have to put people through the paces. And as soon as they drop off, you just keep it pushing. And that's a part of you acknowledging the promises. Just like Ruth looked at Naomi and was like, I'm riding till the wheels fall off, because I recognize that I'm committed to what this energy, this family is, the spirit of what we're doing here. And your gods are going to be my gods. Will you die? I'm going to die. So forth and so on. Will you live? I'm going to live. And that level of discipleship, which is just really a level of discipline, is necessary in order to see the greatest person you could be. I know we use terms like, oh, the will of the Most High, and for some of you that doesn't mean anything. You're like, oh, what is that, right? Well, it's making sure that you can survive the next stage of evolution. That's what it is. When we say submitting to the Most High, what we're saying is that there are always cycles of life and death, like you've been hearing me break down in the movie 2001. And you won't survive the next cycle if you're not outfitted and armored with the evolutionary forces that are driving that cycle. Okay. So now when we're speaking about becoming the best person you could be, whether it be how you eat, how you exercise, how you talk, who you're around, so forth and so on, what you're doing is you're ascending yourself up so that you can be in the council of the gods, right? And that allows you now to survive the next stage. But if you are so in love with this particular stage, then none of that will mean anything to you because you're like, well, I don't mind if I'm earthbound for the rest of my whatever existence is going to be. I'll be just a wandering spirit on the earth. And then when the earth is no more, then hey, whatever. I'll just cross that bridge when I get to it. But then you have others that's like, nah, I don't want that. I want to go as high as I can possibly go. And I want to have my consciousness survive as many evolutions and reincarnations as it possibly can. Well, how do you do that? That's when you start hearing words about the law, submission, and things like that. So, just for anyone who's listening, like they just keep saying that, but they just sound like them Hebrew Israelites on the corner. It's not that. It's not that. It's something so much than that. It's so much more cosmic and so much more deeper and interplanetary and galactic than just be a good boy and just be a good girl. It's not about that. As you saw me break down in Space Odyssey 2001, they didn't gain access to the heavens until they killed each other. When one ape killed another ape, it was like, all right, now you can learn the tools of flight and space travel. You see, so their evolutionary forces demanded that of early man. So when you are in this flow, you learn a lot about, oh, I do have to learn how to fight. I do have to learn how to protect myself and to protect my family. As a woman, I do have to learn the art of sensuality and how to maintain sexual tension with my man and cater to my man and all these different things that it would seem that if I'm righteousness automatically should mean boring. It should mean that I'm just sitting somewhere still reading the Bible, something like that. And it's completely not that. It means getting wild again and getting free again, like you were in the garden. That's what it actually means.
Like we should do an altar call right now. Give thanks for that, man. I think we can close out on that. If anybody wanted to add anything before we check out of here, speak now or forever hold your peace. All right, cool. Well, I appreciate everybody joining us. Man, search your heart, man. What's in your heart? And if you have a heart for the Most High, and if you have a heart for other people, we got a spot for you. That means you're gonna work though. You know what I mean? You can sit and just watch and cheer on everybody else. You're gonna get in there and you're gonna feel the burn. But more importantly, you're gonna get nice and light and you're gonna start to elevate, man. Yeah. So all right, y'all enjoy the rest of your day and we will be right back next strong, same time, same channel. Peace.
Peace. Give thanks, everyone. Peace.
All right,
Peace.
Coach.
Give
That's
thanks.
enough.
Peace.